Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, getting comfortable to talk about Mozart. Mozart Piano Concertos, a new release, beautifully packaged. My goodness, look at this nice hardcover book, an extensive selection of essays and discussions and interviews, and unfortunately something to do with Paul Klee. Don't ask me why, with Mozart and music. I mean, there has to be the multi art media cultural tie-in somewhere. Okay, but aside from that, there's lots of interesting stuff in here, and it is beautifully put together by the Academy of Ancient Music. It's their own label, of course, because they need one. And what we have here, let's be clear: Mozart Piano Concertos, 25, 27, and the concert aria with piano obbligato, Ch'io mi scordi di te. It's one of his greatest ever arias. It's absolutely marvelous. 10 minutes long. I mean, it's a serious thing. So we have the Academy of Ancient Music, which is excellent, and Robert Levin, who is the reincarnation of Mozart himself. Louise Alder, really fine soprano, singing beautifully, really beautifully, with pure tone and affecting use of the text, and it's just lovely. And Richard Egarr, fine conducting. They just sound terrific. I mean, they really sound terrific, except, well, there has to be an exception, doesn't there? Except for the piano. And we need to get into this because, Robert Levin is an absolutely splendid pianist, and he's a Mozart guy. I mean, he channels Mozart. He writes fake Mozart, or maybe real Mozart. Who knows? He can ornament up the wazoo. He improvises his own cadenzas here. Although, I actually have a, you wonder how just improvised is. I mean, you've got to think about it in advance, and you can assemble it in your head. And just because you don't write it down doesn't mean you don't have a very clear sense of what you're going to do and how it's going to go. I mean, right? That's a whole nother question, isn't it? I'm not trying to make light of the ability, because it is an extraordinary ability. The problem here is that everyone sounds great except for the fortepiano. The fortepiano is a modern replica of a Walter Viennese thingy that Mozart supposedly liked, which tells us nothing. Mozart likes Walter's fortepianos. I mean, what does that mean? I mean, the question is, which one? I mean, talk to any pianist today. I mean, when I was talking to Ivan Moravec, he would go to the Steinway studio and they'd play 5,000 pianos till he'd find one that sounded attractive to him. And he once told me about this beautiful piano he loved, but they retuned it and all the beauty of tone had gone out of it. And, pianists are picky, right? Christian Zimmerman runs around with his own keyboard action. I mean, some people, Glenn Gould had his Steinway whatever that he trucked around whenever he had to play, even though, it had this sort of strange woody, leathery tone. But that's up to the artist, isn't it? And so saying that you're going to use a replica of an earlier instrument tells us absolutely zip. What matters is how beautiful the instrument sounds. And this particular version of a remake of a Walter from 1970 something, I mean, there's a thing about it in here. Wait a minute, let me see if I can find it. It tells us exactly what it is. Let's see, here's all the people, and then there's the production credits, and then there's the other releases, and it's a whole booklet. This is a production, this sucker. It really is. But I have to find the fortepiano. There it is. No, that's not it. Why Mozart? Who's Mozart? What does Mozart do with himself? Fortepiano. Here we go. It was made the replica by Chris Main in Rieselidi, Belgium in 2018. So it's a 2018 piano. In other words, it's a perfectly modern piano. And this perfectly modern piano, which is made to sound lousy like Mozart's pianos did, is quite simply incapable of expressing Mozart's music. Sorry, Robert Levin, I know you're the authority and I'm just a little peon. But the fact of the matter is, every single instrument playing sounds better than this piano. I mean, the Academy of Ancient Music sounds great. Their strings are have really cleaned up their act. I don't know how much vibrato they're using. I don't care. They sound terrific. They really do. I mean, they can sing. They have warmth. The woodwinds are really, really perky. They're forward in the mix, nicely balanced. So you hear all of Mozart's captivating woodwind writing. The trumpets and drums in the 25th Concerto had punch, but they're not obnoxious. It's just a gorgeous orchestral performance. Richard Egarr has them playing top level. And it's a pity, because every time they come in, you'd rather listen to them than the piano. And say what you will about the authenticity of the matter, Mozart's piano concertos have to establish the piano and the orchestra on some kind of equal footing. The trouble with this forte piano is that, first of all, it has no legato at all. I mean, it sounds like you're playing ping pong balls or something. It goes plink, 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 no matter what you do. It has a very limited dynamic range. And Levin is not a pounder. He's not one to let us know how limited it is. It always sounds mezzo something or other. And every time another instrument comes in, it could be a flute, it could be a bassoon, it doesn't matter. That forte piano gets pushed into the background, and you couldn't give a damn what it's playing. It's just inexpressive. It's an inexpressive instrument, and you're not going to make it expressive by indulging in slight agogic mannerisms or distensions of tempo or ornamenting the melodic line. There has to be a basic, fundamental, dynamic relationship between forte piano and orchestra. And this instrument ain't going to cut it. I don't know why Robert Levin chose it. I really don't. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what Mozart may have had to put up with in his day, or which brand he particularly subscribed to, because he had to pick something. What matters is what the music asks for. What matters is that there should be a serious dialogue between the forte piano and the instruments, which has to be dictated by more than the fact that every time an instrument plays, you don't want to hear the piano anymore, or you can't. I mean, it just recedes. I admire the idea of trying to place the piano amidst the orchestra and to create that kind of chamber music-like dialogue and interplay among the instruments, but there's no competition here. And a piano should always compete with, say, a flute or an oboe or the strings, because a piano, I mean, last time I checked, it's played with 4 hands, and you can activate many strings at once, and it's capable of creating a quasi-orchestral mass of tone. And if you can't do that, it doesn't matter whether a piano is authentic or not. That's the bottom line. So I enjoyed this to the extent that I loved listening to the Academy of Ancient Music. I really did. They sound I'm telling you, they sound marvelous. They're so fine. And if you don't have a soloist who's got at his disposal an instrument of equal color and amplitude and just timbral interest, then you've only got half a recording of Mozart's piano concertos, which is what this is, unfortunately. Despite the lovely singing also, let's face it, of Louise Alder in Chiommi Scordi di Te, she's great. And again, you've got a soloist who's expressive, who has the text. You've got a piano who has to be the duet partner of the soloist. No, it's not happening. It's just the way it is. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and take care.